Goals of the board was to really have kids leaving Oak Valley knowing who they are, so that when they go into high school, they have, high schools have these pathways, right? Career pathways, typically.
Yep.
And what do I want to take? What am I good at? And we're hoping that they figure out what they're good at and what their interests are before they go to high school. So it kind of catapults them through high school and advances them a little bit faster, so that they can figure things out and then figure out their career eventually.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brighter Together podcast. My name is Janet Courtney, and my special guest today is Heather Pilgrim. Heather is the superintendent at Oak Valley Union Elementary School District, and that is in Tulare, California. Heather, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me what's going on at Oak Valley these days.
Okay, well, Oak Valley, we are a little TK to 8th grade school in rural California, smack dab in the middle of the state. So we are kind of a unique school. We have 65% of our kids who come in on an inter-district transfer. So that means that they're coming from surrounding cities and towns. And so we have about 575 kids. And it's very much built on old tradition. When you come onto the campus, it is the reason why I feel families bring their children out to our school is because of the old-fashioned values that we have, high expectations for behavior. And, academics are important, but I think, most looking to support our children holistically and have fun and find out what their interests are before they leave us in 8th grade to head off to high school. And so that's kind of my job, what I do.
Nice.
Yeah. So in our areas, students attend school based off of where they live. And so if there's a boundary. And so within Oak Valley's boundary, we probably only have about 200, maybe 250 kids that actually live in our boundaries. So if we were to only serve them, we would be very, very small. So years ago, we're actually celebrating our 70th year this year.
Congratulations.
School
That's
district.
awesome.
Yes. So the surrounding school districts, are the kids that live in the surrounding school districts have to apply to come here. And so when they do, their district has to release them because, of course, we're taking their students from them. And so they have to be willing to give up that ADA and let us have them. And then there's an agreement between those two districts, and there's an agreement with the families and the students have to have good behavior, they have to have good attendance and good academic standing. And when they don't meet those expectations, they can be revoked and go back to their original school district, their home district. Yeah.
So it's kind of school of choice, similar to school of choice.
Similar. School of choice is more about if your school district is not performing well, you can actually leave and go to another school district without the interdistrict.
Okay.
So it's a little different. We're not technically a school of choice, but it is, I don't know, kind of like a quasi, I don't want to say private school or anything like that.
Yeah,
You apply
you're still public funds, and
exactly. And of course,
it's
we take anybody, and as long as the enrollment, we have room.
Right. Yeah. So do you have a cap then? This isn't what thought we were going to talk about, but I'm curious because it's every state has their own nuances, and you literally have 2.5 times the number of kids that you would have had, without this agreement. So I'm sorry, I'm just fascinated. So,
this is my 7th year here as superintendent. And when I first got here, I asked my board if they were interested in growing because we do have a lot of land around us, and they had no interest in growing. They felt that we were at a very good enrollment number to where our class sizes are low. So they want to keep the board in particular wants to keep each grade level under 60. So we have 3 teachers per grade level. And so each classroom has less than 20 students. And this is, again,
Nice.
another draw of
Yeah.
why people want to come out here. And we do have a waiting list. So it's the small class sizes, along with those kind of old traditional.
Yeah.
When I say old traditional, our yeah, values. It's unique because the family connections here. We have deep-rooted connections. Families have been come for generations been coming to Oak Valley because in 1955, that's when it was created from 4 other school districts.
Okay.
So little tiny schoolhouse districts came together and made Oak Valley in 1955.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad was it's funny, Cooksey. So my dad, I'm 58 this year, so he would have been 88. He passed away a couple years ago, but he and his brother, we talked a little bit about rural just before we started, because I grew up in Grand Island, Nebraska, and my dad, lived on a 120-acre farm. And they had a one-room schoolhouse. You know, he was born in 1937, so I get what you're talking about. Well, he and my uncle Dan were just a year apart, and Uncle Dan was going to be the only kindergartner, so he's put him in first grade. And so he ended up graduating from high school at 16. That was the kinds of things that they did back in the 1940s. Would have been in the 1940s. So,
I actually have registers from 1891 from one
wow.
of the school districts. It was either, I think it was Enterprise School District and 1891. And so the state superintendent at that time sent to every district a ledger. And so it's handwritten
Wow.
daily,
Hmm.
the names of the students, their attendance, their grades and behavior. It's funny. And so I have people visiting who will open up those journals from 1891 to 19, or well, obviously to 2025, and they go and they look and find their ancestors in the ledgers. It's pretty special.
I
Yeah.
bet. I
Yeah.
bet. Wow, that's really, really cool. So it came together. Is that when the I'm sorry, I can't keep that name in my head. No,
Yeah.
when did that happen?
I don't know the history of that when
Okay.
that started with the county, because other school districts within our county do it as well. So I'm not quite sure when that
Okay.
started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. And you've got a system that works and the kids, and then you have an expectation for the children and for their behavior and their parents. And that's really great.
Yeah, so the behaviors are really good here because if they start to, we always want to mold our kids. We're not going to give up on them.
No, of
If
course
they're
not.
having ill behaviors, and so we're still going to bring them in and do what we normally do. But if it's not working, that usually can be the last straw. Hey, look, we've tried. This doesn't work. Maybe you're best suited at your home district.
Hmm. So, okay, so let's shift because I know we talked about that and then that went 8 minutes into this
Okay.
podcast, but I want to talk about the other things that you guys have some great programs going on there that are kind of unique. Certainly not something you would see at an LAUSD or whatever. So I'd love to
Yeah.
hear about that as well.
Sure. So when I got here 7 years ago, seeing the beautiful land that we have, I thought, man, we need to have a farm out here. And so we started off with just a fence line. And I said, I don't know how we're going to do this, but if we build it, they will come type of thing. So we did. And the board was very supportive because we live in this agrarian society, and a lot of our families are coming from either farmers, but we also have a lot of laborers. So we do have a high Hispanic population that families are working in the fields, but I wanted them to see that as a positive, not a negative. So when there's so much to the ag industry and so many different career options that once we start with our youngest, our children seeing the value of our land and the crops and so forth and the industry, that maybe they're as they grow up, they might have an interest in working in it as a career. So part of developing that farm, we have uh, planter beds, we have trees, we have nuts, citrus, um, stone fruit. We have goats, we have chickens, we have lambs, we have students who participate in 4-H. And so one of the things that I knew that if I wanted to get this farm going and be real beneficial, it had to be an integral part of the curriculum.
Right.
And 4-H has that. And so in
Nice.
our region, we have a 4-H office. I asked her to come and talk and how does this work? Typically 4-H is outside of the classroom after school lunch, and you've got leaders, but what we have is called an in-school 4-H program. So every kindergartner to 8th grader um, has ag, and they dabble in it in kinder, first, second, third grade. But then once they get older, they can have it as an elective. So we have one ag teacher who teaches on the teacher's prep, gives them ag education, goes out to the farm, plants and does various experiments out there in the farm. So that it's just a wonderful program. And then the ag teacher decided to go for a FFA chapter.
Ah, okay. Mm-hmm.
So we have middle school FFA, which is just a beautiful leadership program for our kids. And they they're growing leaps and bounds. And then when they go off to high school, they are just, participating at higher levels because they're getting this access
Right.
to leadership skills in the middle school.
Neat. And for those of you that don't know, FFA is Future Farmers of America, and it's a great organization. I have not personally participated, but you grow up in a rural community, and 4-H and FFA are just a part of your life, and an important part. And I love that. That's exciting. So how many kids do you have that participate in FFA?
Okay, so FFA is mainly for our 7th and 8th graders. So
Mm-hmm.
we probably have about 45 that participate in FFA, but we have a real core, probably a core group of 25 that are in the leadership 8th grade class. They participate in the state FFA conference every year. We also have within the 4-H program, we had over 50 kids showing up at county fair, rabbits, lambs, goats, pigs, and dairy heifers. So we just finished that last week, and they just did amazing things. Yeah.
Awesome. There is a crisis in this country, a massive shortage of special education teachers. We know how devastating this can be for your students, families, and staff. Lighthouse Therapy places experienced special education teachers in virtual, hybrid, and on-site roles, and we handle everything from hiring to onboarding to mentorship. These aren't just placements, they're professionals who understand compliance, collaboration, and care. Let us help you fill in the gaps with special education teachers who really understand. We are here to help. Visit lighthouse-therapy.com/brighter together to connect with us today. There's a lady in Texas I just interviewed, and I'm not going to be able to come up with it off the top of my head. This is the time when I wish I had somebody else with me, but it was a podcast I did just a couple of weeks ago. And they also, it's rural Texas. And she has a program where they have special education students that are showing at 4-H, which is really kind of cool too. Cause she's just like, I think she was a director of special education, incorporate such an integral part of America and rural America and what's happening. And I love that so much.
The other program we have is our visual and performing arts department. And of course, there are a lot of kids that are very creative, theatrical, musically inclined. So we offer a music program that has marching and in concert band. And all of our kids at some point get access to the music program, being as young as, third grade. And then they can select an instrument and be part of that. But we also have a theater dance teacher.
Geez.
So she does a wonderful production every year. I think we did Lion King last year. So she does something just, every year. So from fifth grade on, they can be part of that production. And so she's also teaches on our teachers prep theater to kids as young as first grade. So they're learning about characters, which also supports our ELA standards and so forth.
Yeah.
The creativity of writing a script and things like that. Um, and then we have an art teacher who is teaching all the fundamentals of art, from sketching to oils and paintings and canvas.
That sounds so fun with the littles.
Yes,
I love art with little
yeah,
kids. It's so much
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
So same thing. It's teachers prep from about first grade on, kindergarten on. I think everybody gets that. Um, and then we have photography as well in yearbook. So we have that. But one of the things we also developed within the last couple of years was a leadership class. And so it's real important to me that our ASB students get leadership skills. So we
ASB, tell me what ASB is.
Associated Student Body. So
Okay,
it's
I'm with you.
they're
Yeah,
leading our student body.
gotcha. Okay.
Yes. And so the leadership class has a student store. So we created a shed. We had a shed. We made it cute and adorable. It looks like a little farmhouse. So on our sports days, game days, the middle school kids can come out and they can buy things at the student store, and they student run. So they're ordering, they're taking inventory of the product.
Merchandise. Yeah.
They're counting the money. They're doing all of that.
Ah.
Uh, yeah, so that's been a great addition as well, and it's open before school too, so the littles can have access to it. Um,
You are growing some entrepreneurs at your school.
yeah, one
Very
of the
exciting.
goals of the board was to really have kids leaving Oak Valley knowing who they are, so that when they go into high school, they have, high schools have these pathways, right? Career
Mm-hmm.
pathways
Mm-hmm.
typically.
Yep.
And, what do I want to take? What am I good at? And we're hoping that they figure out what they're good at and what their interests are before they go to high school. So it kind of catapults them through high school and advances them a little bit faster so that they
Mm-hmm.
can figure things out and then figure out their career eventually. So.
Yeah. It's no longer just what's my track? Am I a college track, or am I just a high school diploma track, or am I associate's track? That was that I mean, I'm talking 40 years ago,
Right.
Now for me, it's been 40 years since I hate that, but there you go. 40 years. High school was 40 years ago. And it's like I was 17 when I graduated and didn't know what I was wanted to do. And so giving these kids the opportunity to see things that are out there and to have, opportunities to learn and have an idea of where they want to go. And that doesn't mean that it's necessarily even going to be where they end up, but
Right.
at least they have an idea going into high school what's next. And I love that so much. Yeah. You guys are amazing. I love it. I love it. I understand why you have over 500 students in your school now. It sounds like a lovely place to go to school. So
It's fun.
Yeah, it sounds like. What would you say is your biggest challenge right now?
Well, probably literacy rates are always our challenge. And I think we just haven't quite figured that out yet. We're trying, we have interventions, we have the MTSS system, which is the multi-tiered systems of support in all areas, in our socio-emotional learning, along with our academic side. And I think we have a new principal this year and I'm very excited because she's highly trained in early literacy and she has some ideas. And so she's going to dig a little deeper and into our classroom instruction and our data and utilizing some new research on best practices with the science of reading and so forth, and kind of just bring it all together. So I'm excited to see what she does. And so we're still hovering around 40% of our kids reading on grade level when they exit, first grade, second year. And our goal is to always have 80%. So our kids are, if we look at kids reading on grade level within a year of reading on grade level, we're upwards to 75, 80%. And typically if you're within a year of proficiency, you can usually catch up, but we're not. And so
Mm-hmm.
why aren't we? So those
Right.
are probably our challenges. And once we figure this out, I think everything else will excel. Our math scores, science, and so forth. Because the reading is the biggest gift that we can give
Yeah.
them, and
Yeah.
so it needs to be our
It,
priority.
yeah. You learn to read so that you can read to learn.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. I get that. And as an SLP, comprehension and all of that good stuff, it's like that's just that's core of who I am. So good for you guys to be continuing to address that and recognizing that these are things that the kids need, right? And in part of the reason that Brighter Together is here is so we can talk about the things that are amazing and talk about the challenges because everybody's got, you know, everybody that's in education, that every single person that I have come across are people that are passionate, people that love the kids. And I see that in you. You love the kids, you love what you're doing, you want to make the world a better place. We're teaching the next generation. And yet all we hear when you talk in social media and on the news is all of the bad things and all of that, schools are failing and blah, 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 blah. And it's not the truth. It's not the truth. So, we're trying very hard to be bold about what's happening in education and tell the truth and get away from let's stop scoring our schools based on one test score.
Yes.
Nobody else in any industry is measured by one test score. It's really not the way that we should be measuring our schools.
Well, and yes, exactly. And I think that's where we're at. Academics, of course, are important.
Of
Reading,
course they are. Yeah.
Marines read, but we really are looking at the whole child here because our attendance rate is upwards to 97%. It's because they want to be here because
Yeah.
they're enjoying those enrichment moments, with all of the programs that we just mentioned and the robust after school program we have, so they want to stay, and they want to come. But there's more to that, just that one test. Their social well-being emotional well-being is huge. So we actually applied for the community schools grant and received it a couple years ago. So we have a full-time school psychologist, a school counselor, a part-time social worker. We have a wellness room where kids can go and kind of, oh, if I'm feeling
Yeah.
overwhelmed. So we're trying to hit that side too, to make sure that, you know, I hate to bring up COVID because we're well past that, but there are some lingering effects of it emotionally. And so we have to make sure that we are supporting them holistically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Heather, where do people go if they want to learn more about Oak Valley Union Elementary School District?
Okay, oakvalleyschool.org. That's our website. And my information's on there. Feel free to email me. And I'd love to build programs and to help anybody that's willing or wanting the help. And I think as a superintendent, the most important piece in making sure that you can get these programs off the ground is your budget and having a vision. So how do you have a vision? Utilize your budget appropriately and convince your board that
Yeah.
great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I had someone tell me a superintendent yesterday tell me, he's like, you got to have a good board. You got to have a good
I have an
board.
amazing board.
Yeah.
Shout out to them. They are so supportive. They let me do my job. They ask the right questions. They challenge me. I have to prove myself to them every time, and I'm okay with that because it keeps me on my toes and keeps me sharp. And I just really respect them a lot.
Awesome. Well, Heather, it has been such a nice conversation. Thank you for taking me through all of these different aspects of what's happening there and just keep up the good work. And just thank you for being on Brighter Together.
I appreciate you doing the work that you do as well.
All right. Take care.
Take care.